Yes.
I like it. All righty then, let's start.
Okay.
I was in first grade in a private Catholic school when this stark announcement interrupted our lesson. President Kennedy has been shot. I remember tears filling my eyes. President Kennedy was our country's first Catholic president, and as Roman Catholics, that was very important to us. Back then, my parents and all my relatives voted Democrat because that's the way we voted. And I maintained my Democratic allegiance for a long time. However, I had to rethink my position as I began to study the history and the values of the Republican Party. And I realized that they are more in line with Christian values. I am here tonight to persuade you to vote Republican in the next presidential election with the hope that you will make a decision based on facts and history and not because of your family did it that way. According to the survey, about half of you are still undecided how you will vote in the next presidential election. I understand that. I will show you tonight why you should vote Republican. This is an important topic. Our liberty, our freedom, and our very country is at stake here. My first point is based on the history of the Republican Party. According to these two sources, the Republican Party was created in 1854 as an effort to restrict the expansion of slavery. 6 weeks after Republican Abraham Lincoln was elected president, South Carolina seceded from the Union. Within 6 more weeks, 5 other states seceded. And in April 1861, the Civil War began. As you know, the North was victorious, effectively ending slavery in the United States. In essence, it was the Republican Party that ended slavery in the United States. According to these sources, the Republican Party is responsible for the following: women's right to vote, construction of the Panama Canal, the interstate highway system, school desegregation, the Civil Rights Act of 1960, and the selection of Condi Rice as the first African-American woman Secretary of State. So you see, any arguments that Republicans are waging a war against women, or that Republicans are only concerned about rich white people, is simply not supported by history. Next, I would like to show you some comparisons between the philosophies of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. These are found at these sources. Can you guess which party holds which belief? I want you to consider when you listen which platform best represents Judeo-Christian values. We are committed to rethinking, reforming, and remaking our government so that it can meet the challenges of our time. We are the party of the Constitution, which confirms our God-given individual rights and assures that all Americans stand equal before the law. We believe that women have a right to control their reproductive choices. We will continue to fund Planned Parenthood. We strongly support a woman's right to make decisions regarding her pregnancy, including a safe and legal abortion. We have led the effort to prohibit the barbaric practice of partial birth abortion. We support marriage equality and support the movement to secure equal treatment under law for same-sex couples. We reaffirm our support for a constitutional amendment defining marriage as the union of one man and one woman. We believe that getting an education is the surest path to the middle class. Parents are responsible for the education of their children. We support options. School choice is important for all children. Lastly, it is true that the Democrats are the party of compassion. You say the word Democrat, and you immediately think about helping the poor, eliminating poverty and injustice, and making life fair for everyone. But Republicans feel the same way. The difference is the method. Victor Hansen, in this article, rhetorically says this, and I quote, "Do the unemployed more eagerly seek employment when they are provided increases in food stamps, unemployment insurance, disability insurance, and assorted housing, legal and educational subsidies, or are they more likely to remain on public assistance, to become more indifferent to full-time employment, and to augment their subsidies with off-the-books cash income? End quote. How does this work in real life? I want to share a story with you about a friend of mine. She was a very devout Christian, a single woman about my age. A few years ago, she was collecting unemployment after she lost her job. Her faith was strong, and she trusted God to meet her needs on a daily basis. One week, due to a mix-up, she did not receive her unemployment check. She panicked, she cried, and she absolutely did not know how she would survive without that check. I later thought to myself, where is her faith that God will provide? She wasn't really depending on God, she was depending on the government. The problem with social welfare is that Jesus taught us to pray, "Our Father, give us this day our daily bread." As Christians, we are commanded to love our brothers and sisters in Christ and to care for them when they are in need. But we don't have to, because the government does it for us. And they do it in the name of compassion. And who gets the glory when the check arrives? Unfortunately, it's not God. My personal story is the same, but different. I may have mentioned to you before that post-Enron, my husband and I found ourselves about $180,000 in debt. We had nowhere to turn except to God. Over a 3-year period, we witnessed God providing us with daily bread with such timeliness and repetition that it could not be a coincidence. Day after day, week after week, month after month, God provided exactly what we needed that day, never more and never less. I felt like a Hebrew in the wilderness just collecting manna that had fallen from the sky. As a result of having no government safety net, the following also happened to us. You've all heard that necessity is the mother of invention. We became very inventive. We accomplished things we never knew we could do. I learned how to operate the sander, the cordless drill, the panel saw, and the spray booth. I learned to drive our cargo van. I learned to read and analyze all our financial statements. As we worked our way out of debt, we paid off our house note too. Today we are completely out of debt and spend more time and effort on our business and giving to our favorite charities than we worry about the next paycheck. Had the government helped us out of our mess, we could have received food stamps, maybe housing and college tuition for our daughter. No doubt that would have been the easy road, and maybe we would have taken it. But in retrospect, I am so glad we didn't, because we learned and we accomplished more than we ever thought was possible. If I can compare these two stories, my friend has a secure job. She lives paycheck to paycheck. She's living in subsidized housing, and she's doing okay. I also have a secure job, a secure retirement. I'm living in a house with no mortgage. I give a lot of money to charity, and in a million years will never forget to give God all the glory. Compassion? Sometimes compassion is letting people work through their problems and allowing them to become stronger through adversity. Sometimes you help people more by not giving them food or money and forcing them to develop their God-given talents. This epitomizes the philosophy of the Republican Party. The Democratic Party, in its noble endeavor to make life just and fair for everyone, disavows God and sees government as the provider of our daily bread. At my opening, I told you how proud I was that JFK shared our Catholic faith and we voted Democrat just because we did. I illustrated what changed my mind. Republicans have positively influenced history, and their platform is much closer to Judeo-Christian values. I quoted briefly an article on human nature. I told you a personal anecdote that shows giving people assistance is good and it's beneficial, but in the long run it takes glory away from God. And lastly, I told you my personal story and how adversity made us stronger, and God got all the glory. I hope by now that those who are undecided about the 2016 presidential election will choose beyond voting a certain way because that's how we always do it. I hope you will see that history proves that the Republican Party is more in line with our beliefs, and I hope you see that the Republican Party, who is often smeared for not being compassionate, may actually be more helpful in the long run, letting people depend on themselves and ultimately depending on God. I hope you will do your research before the 2016 presidential election, and I'm encouraging you, for the sake of our great nation, to vote for the Republican candidate in 2016. Thank you.